My father wasn't there when I was growing up. My father had a heart attack at age 43, and this was back in 1957, so it affected our whole family, obviously. I have two older brothers, one of which had a heart attack at age 36 and a bypass surgery at age 44. Another had a heart event at age 64. So, you know, we've had a history of heart disease in our family for years.
I had my own airplane at that time, and a good friend of mine and my oldest two boys, we were going to go on a fishing trip at noon that day, and all of a sudden I started having some pains and like a knife being stuck in my back, and my arms felt limp and so on and so forth. And so I kind of went home and laid down for a little bit, and then I got to thinking, you know, if I'm going to fly that airplane and we're going up to Wisconsin, I better make sure that I'm okay. So I went to the local clinic, and they rushed me off to the hospital and said I'd had a heart attack. I had no indication that I had any heart disease at all. And then at the age of 36, I did have a heart attack. And 8 years later, I had heart bypass. So I had an early introduction into it, and then, you know, that changed a lot of things for me. And exercise, for many, many years, I've walked 2 and 3 miles a day. I was a big meat eater, and after the bypass surgery in 1989, I haven't had a steak since.
He really started taking much better care of himself, and I think it's a great story on what he did to change his lifestyle. You know, that was 30 plus years ago when that happened. With Bill, it was really quite a shock, because, you know, he had run marathons. He was an avid runner. He exercised quite a bit.
It's certainly set your pace in life as far as, you know, the heredity, which none of us could do anything about. So being the oldest son, you always kept thinking, well, would this happen to me? You think, probably not.
Bill was running on a track in West Des Moines, and he had from my understanding, a piece of plaque that broke loose on one of his main arteries that blocked it, and he went down.
His habit was to go to Seven Flags and work out every day. And it was right around, I'd say 5 o'clock or so, 5:30. We were on the telephone. I was going to play bridge that evening, and I said, I'll be home later. Of course, the scenarios here are that if I were home, how this all would have been different, or if he were home by himself. The Holy Spirit sent him right to Seven Flags. He went in there and did his workout. And I was doing things at home, and all of a sudden I looked, and I was very late to play bridge. Got in the car. It was a rainy evening. They stop all the traffic on 100th Street because an ambulance is coming out of Seven Flags. I thought, oh great, this is just what I need. Finally, the ambulance goes by, and I am at my destination, and I get a call from my friend, Father Hess, who says, something's happened to Bill, and I have to come and get you. And I, of course, went on about, please tell me what happened.
Bill came to the lab. He was intubated, but I could tell that there was probably good hope, because he was starting to get a little naughty and pull on tubes and start to protest, at least physically, a little bit. So I knew he was probably going to be fine.
I've really never been in the hospital, which I had not. At that point, I'd never been in the hospital, and I was 60-some years old. I really would like to know how many people were involved in this. It turned out that there may have been, I don't know, I want to say 50, I may be on the high side, 50 or 60. We invited them on my birthday, actually January 31st, to come to dinner. And these were people that actually were involved in saving my life.
The most important thing that got done to Bill was immediate CPR. The bystanders just did a perfect job recognizing what they had, doing CPR until the paramedics could come and defibrillate him.
There were people around him who knew what to do, and I think that that's very important. You know, performing CPR and stabilizing him, getting him back into the ambulance, and they got him to the hospital, and he survived it event, which a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do so.
He's the poster boy for American Heart. He took great care of himself. He's a regular exercise person every day, same time, health club, same routine. He watches what he eats. He's aware of his, I think because when you've got it in your family, you're aware of it. And he took care of himself. His first reaction when he could talk about it was, guess it didn't do much good. Dr. Versteeg said, oh yes it did. Your heart muscle was strong, and that's why you survived.
Bill is a model patient, and quite frankly, he was prior to this happening to him. I mean, he was a daily runner, didn't smoke, watched his diet, had ideal body weight, didn't have any chronic conditions that weren't addressed, literally had no risk factors except his family history.
Signs of it, we're very well aware of heart disease in our family. Losing cousins at age 40 from heart disease or a heart attack, uncles that never made it out of their 50s. I try to watch my diet, although I'm probably not as good as I should be in terms of it. Try to stay somewhat active and physically fit, but I know it's probably in my future as well because of the hereditary factor. We're taking the Heart Ball as one of the opportunities to have a family reunion. My 3 sisters will be there as well, and so we don't get together that much. It's nice to get together every once in a while. The reason the Heart Association is important is because of a couple things. One is the education that you as an individual can learn from them in order to take care of yourself, lessen the risks associated with heart disease. The second thing I think is important is understanding what you can do to help others. You know, when I have my heart event, I hope somebody around knows exactly what to do, and I think the American Heart Association has a very important part of that.
The American Heart Association, I think, from an education standpoint, and to have defibrillators and have everything at the right place at the right time, that's what the American Heart Association does, and does a good job in my opinion.
I'm biased, obviously, because I've had the problems, but I think the American Heart Association does an awful lot in research and promoting, promoting good, healthy habits. And I think probably they've probably helped save my life.
One of the things that I've told my children is that you're not going to be able to say I wasn't there when you were growing up. But you might be able to say, I wish he wasn't there. But because of the change in lifestyle, I was there for my children, and that was real important for me.